Hey everyone. Okay, so yeah, obviously big reveals to talk about. Valkyrie was killed by the Shogunate while raising Homer on Oeda, and Kurenai, rather than ruling Sunjul with an iron fist, is actually a benevolent leader who's unified the planet under one roof. So now we're really getting into the divergent points of comparison between Universe Zero and the world we know. And before getting into the one thing that is starting to still just irk me a bit about this whole thing, about this whole starting point of the arc, I do want to say one thing I really like about this version of Valkyrie's death is how Mashima put a lot more emphasis on the idea that this universe's Homura was actually really good friends with her Seiji, aka Creed, but by pure circumstance and accident, Valkyrie still ultimately sacrificed herself, this time by exchanging her life for Homura's after she was accused of, I guess, assassinating, like attempting assassination on Prince Seiji or something, and with Homura being first-hand witness to Valkyrie's death, it's no wonder she's traumatized so much and blames herself. Like it is kind of, it's one of those things where for however things may change, shift and change with the flow of time, there are some things that paradoxically remain the same, and the changes that do happen aren't always for the better. Like so, obviously with this, so obviously in a lot of ways you could say that in a lot of ways you could say that in our world, in our world, pretty much because Homura was never really able to, because Homura actually, this version of Homura actually saw the death of her mother. It actually caused her a lot more pain and suffering than arguably in our world, where our Homura actually got to kind of did pretty much get the ability in order to kind of at least say goodbye, even if she was already dead by that point. So it's like it's one of those things where sometimes saying goodbye to someone, sometimes saying some goodbye to someone who's dead is sometimes a lot easier. Is sometimes a lot easier than witnessing someone die right in front of your eyes, I guess, in some respects. And so now with this change, though, Homura is still on a journey, but rather than searching for Valkyrie, she's searching for her mother Kurenai, leading us to Sunjul, where we find her as leader of both factions, the Resistance and the Zaiten both factions, the Resistance and the Zaiten 3, and seeing them work together to stop the monsters. I'm not gonna lie, the image itself is pretty hilarious, given they were on each other's throats in the original world, but that just raises the question of what's the twist or angle to this change. Like, what is it what's the emotional hook, so to speak? And because as I said, even though I do like this chapter, there is one small critique I have after reading it, and it comes in the form of a question, which is simply, how much of this is going to matter? And hear me out. Up to this point, aside from the occasional hitch, this whole arc of reuniting with the crew has largely been a pretty dry run in terms of stakes. Basically, nothing about this journey so far has warranted the warning Rachel gave the crew before leaving. So going into this next phase of the adventure with Universe Zero's Sunjul arc, what are going to be the consequences, if any, the crew is going to have to reckon with after this journey on Sunjul? What's the emotional hook to get us invested, aside from just Homura's past trauma and just her wanting to find, and just her relationship with basically Kurenai, which, granted, I think I might know just from seeing Kurenai's return where this is headed, but for now but I still want to wait to see how this plays out before I make the judgment call. But ultimately for me, it's a problem where I want Mashima to get back to his roots of what he was doing in the first half of the series. Show that feeling of dread. Show that feeling of danger popping up without warning. Like, show kind of the evil of human nature again. And I only bring this up because with how Draken Joe's redemption was handled, I'm genuinely concerned for how Mashima's going to handle Shura. Shura at the end of the day was an evil bastard. I guess you could say almost comically so. So for me, it's not a matter of fleshing out Shura and examining his character more. It's about how Mashima does it. Is he gonna make it as easy as it was? Is he gonna make like reasoning with Shura as easy as it was for Shiki to do with Dragon Show, or is there gonna be at least a little bit of a hook to it? Like, I don't mind him doing this, but he needs to do it right. That's my problem with the whole thing, I guess you could say. Huge rant aside, though, one thing I really liked in this chapter is the reveal that Hermit hasn't just been lazing around in this world on Digitalis. She's actually spent a good amount of time honing her technical mechanical knowledge by actually kind of returning to her old stomping grounds on Planet Hook, and also and the planet where Planet Plant, I think it was, or whichever planet like she was much on, or she was helping that provincial bastard Mueller, and which I'm not gonna lie, it is a little convenient that Mueller wasn't around, but honestly, you're not gonna hear me complaining either, as that's one less asshole I'm glad we don't have to deal with again. And in a funny bit of irony, I like how you could kind of make the argument that it is indirectly thanks to Mueller, a man who absolutely despised machines, a full-blown machine racist, really, that it's thanks to him that she's improved as a ship's engineer. And I can't wait to see how Hermit is going to put that knowledge to use, which I get the feeling the first instance we will see of that will be improving Weiss's suit, which, yeah, I'll be curious to see what kind of improvements Weiss's suit is going to get. Of course, with that information comes a rather interesting reveal from Jin, which is that while OTech exists in this world, no one knows who's actually developed the technology itself, which makes sense since technically this world's Weiss is still young on top of our Weiss, and on top of the fact that our Weiss has really just kind of temporarily commandeered this version of himself's body. But again, that just raises the question: if Weiss isn't the one who developed OTech in this world, then who is responsible for its creation? If not Weiss, but more importantly, if this is a plot thread Mashima is actually planning to explore, whether it's in this arc or another down the line, one thing I would really like to see more than anything is finally seeing Weiss come into his own as a professor, so to speak. Like we've seen all sorts of development from Weiss as a character and as a fighter, but it feels like the idea of him becoming the man he's supposed to be, a man of science, a professor of machine and machine technology. That's the part of his character that's largely been stagnant. So I would like to see that explored in this saga in Universe Zero now. Like especially with us like being in this final saga, I think it would be prudent to kind of explore that part of his life, honestly. And again, I would just really like to see it. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell with the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of NI, signing off. Later, everyone.